Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down.
Welcome to Let's Talk with Carl Lee and frequent guest hosts Hollis Lewis and Lisa Odie, where sports, culture, and community intersect. Join the crew as they dive into engaging conversations with guests from all walks of the sports life. Let's Talk is proudly presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. Let the conversation begin on Let's Talk.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee with Let's Talk, and we have a great guest in the building today. So Miss Lisa Odie is in the building with me as well. Hollis is unable to make it today. Lisa, I'm just going to start this out. I just got to talk a little bit about him without his name yet.
Okay, I like that.
This has been one of, there are people who you meet in your life, and they, for whatever the reason, they just take you over. You know what I'm saying? Like they kind of, they impress you so much, and they're usually in a position of leadership. And this individual today has been in leadership, and he has been so unbelievably successful. And to this day, I can't reflect back and think of a day that I heard him scream, yell at somebody, or anything like that. It's a unique kind of an individual.
Air of authority. Doesn't
Yes.
have to really raise his voice.
Yes.
He's respected. Mm-hmm.
So, with no further ado, Mr. Bryce Casto, he is also, or just recently retired.
2024.
2024, from South Charleston High School.
Yes.
And I got a bio from Ripley, West Virginia, which I already knew that. But you currently are in Winfield.
Yes.
Hall of Fame now. This is what I think is the coolest thing going. Hall of Fame in baseball and football.
What a feat.
This is true.
It's amazing.
Do you know anybody else with that honor? I don't, because I don't. Okay. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm telling you, again, you're talking about something that is unbelievable. It's not something that, like, I could not ever do that because, one, baseball, I'm scared of the ball. But if I had both of them, everybody in the world would know.
Believe me.
I would tell everybody.
And a bigger truth has not ever been spoken as what Carl just said. Everybody would know.
Well, I've been blessed to be in some really good situations through the years, and I'm just very fortunate, very fortunate.
West Virginia Sports Hall of Fame as well. And a member of the All-American Academic and the All-American Academic Award, right?
Yeah, I was academic All-American at West Virginia State.
Now, okay, so Lisa, I gotta skip away from him and get to you.
What's that?
Student athlete.
Yes.
What does that say for the student athlete? Here are awards in athletics.
Yes.
And academics.
I mean, that in today's world, that is almost unheard of.
Yes.
So accolades to you, Coach. A lot of accomplishments over your lifetime, and well deserved. Well deserved.
His wife Cheryl is here in the building with us and has one son and 10 grandchildren.
That's right.
I have one grandchild, and I spoil him to death. So they are by far the best.
We have a good time.
I can only imagine. So, all right, let's just dive into. I want to go back to Bryce Casto, the athlete at Ripley. Mm-hmm. What prompted you? What made you? What motivated you to be a football player, baseball, and then turn around and then be as good of a baseball player as you had to have been to be also in the Hall of Fame?
Well, it's a small town. It was something to do, and I love sports. Sports has always been very big in my family. And if you know, the Ripley baseball team is in the state tournament, and last year's defending state champion. Have one of my family members is the coach, and as well as the shortstop who's been all state. He's a junior this year. Has been all state twice already. So
wow,
just it's important to the culture of Ripley. Cheryl is from Ripley. I'm very blessed to have her, and so we've grown up there. It was a great place to get an education, great place to have a childhood, and we just are very blessed.
So I'm going to go back, or actually fast forward from Ripley just a little bit with you, Coach, and we're going to talk about the year of 1994 when you were the head football coach at South Charleston. Black Eagles won a Class AAA football state championship. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
It was a good year.
Good year. Very good year.
Good players.
So, I was going to say that's part of my question, Coach. How did you find a way to bring that team together to win it all that year? What was some of your coaching styles that helped you win a championship?
Well, we had a very strong staff, but we had good players, and those players understood their role and accepted their role. I've never seen a team, and it's so rare. I've never seen a team any more focused on what their specific role was in terms of helping us succeed. And we kind of, you always heard of the zone. We kind of hit the zone in the quarterfinals of the playoffs that year and never left it. We just ripped right through it at that point. Mm-hmm. Just great players and who were a joy to coach.
Wow.
You realize too that when I think about South Charleston, I think about football and I think about championships. The first thing that comes to my mind is Robert Alexander and that team losing against Bluefield. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know if I had ever thought at any given time that there would ever be another opportunity for a state championship team in South Charleston. Mm-hmm. And I say that without thinking about you as a coach. And again, I'm biased. I think there's something unique about who you are and your coaching style that I don't even think we have any more coaching. I don't think that's here. And if you were to try to define your coaching style, what would you say that it is?
I would always had a great relationship with players in terms of, I always try to do a quiet authority. We wanted to put our players in the best position to be successful. Sometimes we had to ask players to make sacrifices to do that. I know you know Damon Booker.
Yeah.
Damon Booker was a two-time outside linebacker. It was first team All-State. We asked him to move to free safety his senior year, mm-hmm. and this is something I don't know would happen today. I asked Damon. I said, because we had graduated a lot of players, and we put him back there essentially to save us in case early in the season, and that's why our team got so much better on defense that year's why we won the championship. But I asked Damon to move to free safety. He said, "Whatever we need, coach, to be successful," and that just is a glimpse at that entire team. That entire team personified selfless play. So,
and Damon Booker, that's a big time name, especially if you know anything about South Charleston football. That's a big time name.
Yeah,
and
he made All-State as a free safety too.
Yeah, and we've talked from time to time, and he to this day enjoyed his time at South Charleston, and primarily with having a coach that was high on him, because he, I've known that his whole family, forever. We all grew up on Vandalia, and so I knew him and his whole family, and man, he's excited when he thinks about you, and I think you two were probably was the perfect coach for him.
We had a great relationship and continue to have a great relationship. One of the good stories about Damon is Damon had linebacker tendencies, but as a defensive back, and you could play a little bit defensive back, Coach Lee. Your primary concern isn't what's happening up front. You've got to be aware of a bigger picture. And I had to remind Damon we were practicing at Lately Field for the state semifinals against DuPont, and Damon was just continuing to fly up in there. And
yes, he's a hitter.
They kind of had a threat at receiver that year.
Some wide receiver was out
so
there.
I had to get his attention, and I had Damon go on the Capitol end and on the home side, and he had to stand and be a pylon for about 10 minutes because I said, you're going to be about as useful as that pylon in terms of defending DuPont on that Saturday if you keep flying up in there. So he got the message and had a great game.
And I'm a DuPont grad, so I remember that game well.
I did know that. I did know that too.
I know what you're doing over there.
It was a big day.
Yeah, it sure was. It sure was.
Surprised a few folks.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward a little bit with you, Coach. So later, after your tenure at South Charleston, you served as the head football coach for Nitro High School,
yes.
Correct? You started that in 2015. Your mission there was a little different than the one at South Charleston because Nitro was more in a rebuild type of mode, other than going for a championship like you had with South Charleston's team. So what was that like? What was the difference like between doing a championship team going to a team that was doing a rebuild?
Well, I've always said that coaches. Don't in high school. It's changed a little bit. You don't get to select your players, and kids who may not be quite as physically talented deserve good coaching too. So it was rewarding to try to work with them to try to put them in the best position we could be in, to have as much success as we could. It wasn't we in terms of wins and losses. Weren't very successful, but in terms of life, those folks are doing really well. So that's what it's all about.
And I think I'm glad you said that because I think even now, I think we've gotten ourselves into a situation to where it's not really about, the student athlete. I don't know if there is such a thing as a student athlete now. I think if you're a good athlete, a great athlete, I think you're just an athlete, and I don't know if there's any pressure. I could be wrong. You can comment on this after I'm done, but I don't think that now you have coaches pressing you as much on the academic side as much as they want to push you on the athletic side. I know like Homer Criddle was all over me in school. Sonny Randall was all over me in school because I was that athlete that was just looking to play ball. And every time my grades would go down, I get punished. And so I understand that side of it. How do you see it now?
Well, I'm a huge proponent of education-based athletics,
right.
and athletics in the school environment. And again, with the SSAC and the NCAA, there are regulations that have to be met. The one with the SSAC, the 2.0, and that's a non-weighted grade point average, is a very powerful persuader. Yeah, it's one that we've had to utilize sometimes to motivate students so they could get on the field or the court. But it was,
I know how that
was
works.
there.
That's a kind way to say it.
It's a good thing, but it was important. And two, with athletes who aspire to play collegiately now with the initial eligibility clearinghouse, and I think they call it the initial eligibility center or just the eligibility center now. A Division I person to be a qualifier has to have a 2.3 GPA coming. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In the academic core.
I did not know that.
Division II is 2.2 GPA in the academic core. And it's a few more years you got to have 4 years of English, and the high school puts out a list of what they call its quote unquote academic courses, and that's where that's the ones that count for initial eligibility.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So it's now I will tell you, I think continuing eligibility is a little bit more permissive, but the initial eligibility is
it's more rigorous.
It's more rigorous than what it used to be back in the day.
Because wasn't it 2.0 at one time?
It used to be 2.0, and now continuing eligibility as a sophomore is only 1.8. and then a 1.9 as a junior, then a 2.0 any time beyond that. And that's in Division I and Division II. But the initial eligibility center, it's 2.3 and 2.2 now.
Do you see that impacting a number of athletes at this point? Is it, and I don't know, is it effective or?
I think so. One thing, if I could make a wish, I would love to get to every 8th grader to give those that aspires to play collegiately. And I always tell somebody, even if you're not certain you want to play collegiately, pretend like you do to make sure you get your academic requirements in. Mm-hmm. So you're talking to your counselors about the NCAA core courses that are and what's required. The most tragic things, you end up someone who might blossom late as a junior, and with the academic choices they've made as a freshman and a sophomore, they're just not in a position where they can go and be a qualifier, so to speak, for initial eligibility, and they have to sit a year.
This is new to me.
Yeah, that's all. I mean,
when did this take effect?
Oh, it's been several years.
Oh, okay.
It's gotten a little bit stricter.
Okay.
It used to be a 2.0, and it's going. And there's a sliding scale with the ACT and SAT scores, but generally it's the higher your test score is, the lower your GPA can be. But
I didn't even know that.
There's a 2, 3, 2. I got some stuff I can give you.
He's taking us to school, Carl.
Really,
for sure.
Really. And I'm thinking there are probably a ton of people that are going to hear this and may not.
Yeah, they don't know.
May not know that because I didn't know any of it.
I always just
you
thought
have
it
to
was
work
a GPA.
if you want to play collegiately. You've got to work your academics as strongly as you do your athletics anymore.
See, I can remember just thinking all I got to do is if I can just get to that 2.0. However I get there, I'm good.
Right.
I probably would have never made it if this was the process.
I think students rise to the occasion. They need to be very much aware if they're playing for you, and they aspire to play at the next level. And again, I always encourage all my players to, even if you don't end up there, to aspire there, because that's going to assure some academic success. And again, that's where you measure your true success, because you hear it's cliched, but where are they 20, 30 years from when you have them? Mm-hmm. Are they having success? Are they good parents? They good members of society? That's success.
Well, how often do you actually have to have that conversation to remind that particular or those particular athletes who are searching for college to play sports in college? How often is it that it requires you to remind them, or do you tell them once and it's their role to get it, or?
No, it's highly individualistic, and it just depends. Some students some folks you don't have to worry about.
Right.
They just are. It's their academic ability and interest are just innate. Others you have to talk to just about every other day to make sure you're on top of them. But it's
there he is, your problem child over there in
and
the
that's
corner.
a great motivator too. And again, that's why I'm a big proponent of education-based athletics. It helps assure that folks progress towards graduation.
So, yeah, I would agree. And I don't. Is there anything else that's as motivating as sports to get to a certain degree, to get you academically sound? Is there any other system that's out there for, let's say, the general student body?
I'm not aware of one that's there. I do think it's important that students be involved in something in terms of whether they're in high school or college, because it gives them a hook into the school, and if they're passionate about something, then they tend to do better.
Yeah, whether it's a club or any
band,
type of robotics,
robotics,
any type of group.
Find something that's a hook, but so you need to be involved in something.
Yes,
I think and there are folks who go through and not involved in anything, and I think that's in a way kind of tragic. They're missing out some opportunities. Find something you're passionate about and go after it. Sports is my thing. I wanted to.
Me too. And one of the things that I've noticed with some athletes today, they don't want that yelling and screaming at them or sitting them down and trying to explain to them the facts. I know for me, that was very, very helpful for me to understand, where if I want to go to where I'm saying I want to go, then these are the things that you got to do, not just academic, but socially and all of these kinds of things. I'm not sure. I don't know if that is getting to the young athletes today, or if they're not hearing it or understanding it, not linking it to the reality of how do you become a Bryce Casto without following these rules and regulations? Like, how does that even happen?
I think success leaves clues, and if anybody wants to be successful, there's plenty of folks to go out and study. One thing I always try to do as a teacher and a coach, particularly, and one of the things that happened to me when I was a young coach, because I was coaching West Virginia State, we got to go to 3 training camps when we're embedded with NFL teams for a week. And you could go, you had the run of the camp. And again, the best in the world. Now, what do the best in the world do for success? And I never will forget with Jim McNally with the Bengals, just how many fundamentals they worked. There's Anthony Munoz. They're working basic fundamentals you'd work with a high school or younger player, and he's still doing it. And that was an important part of their practice. So that we tried to bring those methods to what we were doing, and worked our way through very small individual groups all the way up to the team to put it all together.
When you look at sports now, when you start talking about the fundamentals, one of the things that I think, and I don't know if I'm correct on this, but I don't think that the fundamentals are the major focus for most athletes today. I don't know if they're thinking of it, that I got to learn it. Because if I'm good and I'm fast, then, I'm fast, so I'm good. Just give me the ball and I'll take care of everything else. I don't know if we are on that path of fundamentals to the degree that I think you would be and or where it should be.
If you want to be good on a national level, fundamentals are the difference. Often in a small state like West Virginia, folks can get by on talent. And it's been my experience that often folks don't have a global view of how many outstanding players are out there. And to accomplish, what you accomplished in terms of the number of years in the league and all pro, there's a lot of lessons there, and I can remember coming into we're starting school at South Charleston at 7:05 a.m. We're having instruction at 7:05 a.m. and I'm coming into school and you're coming off the track and with a group where you've been training, and this is and we're on a very early schedule. That sort of discipline is, it's there, and if you want to be successful on a national level, to the best that you can be, fundamentals are the difference maker.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. He makes so much sense with that. I'm going to go back to your career, if you don't mind, Coach. Okay. So your later career, you served a long time as an athletic director at South Charleston High School until 2024 when you retired. Yes. Correct? What were some of the difficulties you experienced in switching from being a head coach to an athletic director?
Well, one thing that I always try to take pride in is I wanted what folks would consider the non-revenue or the Olympic sports to have as much service from my office as, say, the more marquee programs that the public would see, your footballs and basketballs. So that was always important to me. And, we generally had 18, 19 sports. So it was important to me for those folks and those students to get the same level of service and an opportunity that what most would consider your more revenue sports,
like football, basketball.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. That was the thing we tried to do. So you have to take a global view, and when you're a head coach of a sport, you can tend to lock in on one sport where you have to kind of see from, I call it an airplane view, look down and see how it fits in the whole thing. I've had folks talk about conference membership, and I always say if you're going to be a member of a conference, you have to look at all sports, not just can't do it just because of football or just because of basketball. Sure. You have to do it because it makes sense for all your sports and opportunities.
But to that point, I don't know if that's what a lot of people are doing. I think some situations are based solely on a sport. So we're going to go to this conference because of this particular sport. And all of a sudden, now you're in a situation to where that sport might become great, and then everybody else is struggling.
As well as travel issues.
Yes, yes.
Big time.
You know,
Yes.
Because, you know, when California is in the ACC, that's a different circuit. You know, when Stanford's in the ACC, that's
It's kind of like WU in the Big 12 sometimes.
they
you know,
were one
they
of the first to
travel.
kind
Yeah.
of step out, and
Yeah.
that's difficult from a travel perspective. And I think you've heard their basketball coaches talk through the year in particular about their travel issues when they're going to Texas, and they'll have to. And the league, I think, tries to schedule them in blocks to where they can do a Saturday, Monday to negate some of that travel. But it's difficult, and you got to take the global view.
I don't, you know, I know you know that, and I've learned it as a coach, but as a player, that man, that travel, what it does to you. Like, I don't know if the general public really understands like a bus ride or even a flight to across the country, and then you're playing in the next day or even a day after that, how difficult that actually is for the players specifically.
Right. It's something that has to be a consideration, not only from the travel perspective, but from your nutrition and other aspects. It's tough.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Great, very much.
You got anything?
Oh yeah, I'm going back to. He's
okay.
a fascinating person. I have all these notes about his career, so I was like going down all these rabbit holes on Bryce Casto today. But so you also had a tenure at West Virginia State University, right?
Yes.
And you served many roles there. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Sometimes my research is a little off. You were VP for Student Affairs.
Yes.
You were assistant football coach.
Yeah.
And sports information director, right?
Yeah.
You were active at the national level to advance the athletics at West Virginia State University. Tell us a little bit about that role.
Well, I was blessed to get involved with the National Association of Collegiate Directors of Athletics, and I was actually on their large board, which was inclusive of all divisions 1, 2, and 3. I was active in the Division 2 Athletic Directors Association, and when I moved into student affairs full time, I was the vice president of that organization. I was on the National Football Committee for Division 2 and helped operate the playoffs. Did a couple of national championship games for Division 2. So it was interesting. I was blessed with 2 tenures at West Virginia State. I coached there, and when I was a very young man, that's where I got to go to the NFL camps for 3 summers in a row. It was just wonderful, and then went and coached at South Charleston, and then went back to state as AD, and then was promoted to vice president. And so it was fun.
As an athletic director, you know, when you are looking at your programs, how do you judge them? Because I'm sure that you don't necessarily judge them necessarily based off the coach per se, or wins and losses. So how do you dissect, like, what should we be doing with this particular sport?
Well, you have to look at resources. You know, you want to be realistic with resources, because as you see even today with high-level Division I athletics, let's just look at football. There's a disparity with NIL, and of course we can have it. But
Right.
So you have to take a look, and again, are you graduating your student athletes? Not very many go out and play in the league. That's rare. I always told folks that's like me standing here and trying to jump and land on the moon. It's that rare, and so it has to be respected. And folks, I don't think a lot of folks understand, to be a college athlete at any level, how good you have to be. Generally, only about 5% of your high school athletes total in all sports go on to play collegiately, and that's at all levels. So it is a rare thing, and it requires a great deal of discipline and a great deal of work and a little bit of luck.
Yeah.
To hit the right situations, and that's what you see. I think one thing that's I think is a little bit unfortunate about some of this transfer stuff is folks are always constantly looking. And one of the best pieces of advice that's ever given to me is always be aware of what you have. And if you're aware of what you have, you look at things. As folks will go and look at jobs, look at the next job or the next place they're going to live. This, and they forget what they have. And it's been my experience that often folks, if you want to hop, there's somebody that would love to have your circumstance because they realize what you have.
And I think a lot of times, especially from the athlete, he or she is always thinking that it's better somewhere else.
Grass is always greener.
Yes, they just always believe that the system is going to fit me over there. If I go over there, I'm going to be able to be much better than what I'm getting here. I don't really know if that works out more times than not. I feel like you don't get that because you're kind of like a guest coming into somewhere else, and all of a sudden everybody's looking at you, and I don't know if that helps you. I don't know. I've never been in that situation, so I don't.
It would be an immense pressure. I think there would be pressure to perform, and heaven forbid injury or something like that, and you end up with your support network's real important too. And some places, sometimes that can be replicated. A lot of times it can't be. Again, always be aware of what you have.
Yeah, I was at Marshall, and guys would leave. We weren't winning. We'd win 3 or 4 games every year, and guys would leave and say they're going somewhere else. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. I'm starting. I'm playing. I got a coach that played in the NFL. I got Bob Pruitt as my DB coach. Why would I leave here? And I didn't know Coach Pruitt being who he is now. I didn't know him there, but I liked him, and he was coaching me, and I was learning things. There was I didn't care. We could have won 1 game. I couldn't leave. I just didn't know. I couldn't give up the choice that I made.
You also had a penalty, though, if you transferred at that time, too, right? Wouldn't you?
I think you had to sit a year
at that time.
You're seeing that, and there's even things now in Division I that's come out with all this stuff, and you see folks now on 7-8 years of eligibility. That's
how does that work?
But I think there's something came out by the Division I board there, in I think the executive committee in Division I of that I think might be a good compromise. 5 years, but 5 years eligibility. So you could play 5 and 5, which is interesting instead of have 5 years to play 4. But we've got to get back to some normalcy. I used to be a huge college football fan, much more than I would even say the NFL, and now it's the polar opposite.
Really?
Because you can't follow a team. You have teams that'll turn over so many folks in the portal per year that you can't really follow and develop players or develop relationships in terms of things. So I think that's I just prefer, if I'm going to watch professional athletics, I'll watch the best in the world. It goes back to what I said earlier. I'm going to watch NFL, NBA, that sort of thing.
Isn't it crazy to think that you could? So if I'm playing for you, and you have a system, and I've learned that system. I think I'm going to try to get me some more money. I'm going to go somewhere else, and now it's a new system. And now I have to learn that system. I got to learn that technique. That's not an easy task. But these kids are acting like it's super easy to go to another team that has a whole nother scheme, a whole nother way of how they do things. And now you got to learn that all over again. How does, what are you thinking?
I'm a proponent of hometown athletics. I like that a lot. Again, not all successes are measured in wins and losses.
Right.
How you develop as a person, as a player. There's opportunity there anywhere you're at. Are there places that are better coached than others? Absolutely, there are. Yeah. And that's fair. But anytime I see an athlete jump to another school, I always hope that it works out for them as well as they think it's going to work out. It doesn't always.
Right.
And that's the sad part about it.
And I think part of the reason is because the system itself might not, you may have some skill set that worked where you were. You just didn't like where you were. So you're going to leave somewhere else. And now the whole system is opposite of what you thought you had. Mm-hmm. you made the mistake. If you left, you made that mistake, and that's on you.
Yeah, it's a hard lesson, and often there are external forces putting pressure on folks to make a decision, and the person that ends up for years having to live with that decision. Again, that's why I say I always hope it works out for them as well as they want it to work out. But it's tough.
If I was coaching, I'll say this, and you never really know, I would not be interested in going after somebody's players. I just wouldn't be. If I can't do it with what I got, then I'm not going to try. If I can't recruit, if I can't get you my way, I'm not going to try to come and talk to a kid that's on your team and try to get them to come to my team. I just think that feels like cheating to me.
Well, one of my great joys was player development. I always,
yes.
I had a couple of players and we were a 10 through 12 grade school at South Charleston when I was head coach. And you have somebody as a sophomore that might be and I actually had two that were not very good players as a sophomore, ended up first team All-State players.
Wow.
But they put the work in. They did the work.
Right.
But that was the rewarding thing, was to watch development. And often you don't get that opportunity anymore, folks. And you see that at the college level, you see it at the high school level, and hopefully with the transfer law being revoked, and we have a new rule coming in with the SSAC. We'll see. Hopefully, some normalcy start to return. We're
continuity.
We're in a situation right now where a lot of folks are making that last jump prior to the new rule coming into effect. That was again when the legislature decided to get out of athletics. I thought that was a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the rule, Bryce, if you can. What the new rule is.
As I understand it, the new rule is that between your after your freshman year and after your sophomore year, you can transfer, and then you have a transfer back, but you can't transfer as a junior and a senior. That's again, it's if you're going to make that choice, you have to do it within the freshman sophomore year, and then you can transfer back within your freshman sophomore year to your original school, but as a junior senior, 365 you sit. It's my understanding, which is, again, it's the old rule, which was a good rule, but in the present environment, I don't think it would have got the legislature out of the business. Was you could go between your 8th and 9th grade year and then with one transfer back. I like that rule. I think a lot of folks like that rule, but the new rule is a little bit more permissive, but still you have to make that decision early.
And I think that's a valid thing to do. I mean, you don't want to be a junior or a senior and leave a school and start over at a different place. I mean, it's just it's not good it's not a good look for high school football, put it that way, or any sport for that matter.
There were players this past fall who were on state championship teams who transferred somewhere else to play basketball.
Yes.
That's
as same place? They go to the same place?
No, this is down the southern part of the state.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Down in the southern part of the state, and you go the bulk of your high school career with one cohort of students, and then you're going to graduate somewhere else.
I don't know how. That just doesn't seem comfortable for me. And I'm not by any stretch of the imagination shy or antisocial, but like I couldn't,
especially as a teenager. You think about growing up with your friends. You've gone to school your whole lives, and then
we walked to school together, and all of that. Like there's just it's almost like
you have to have an adult in your ear telling you. I mean, in my opinion, somebody's telling them that this is what's best for you.
I agree with that too. I could see a player. Okay, if I'm not playing, I could see me thinking about wanting to go somewhere else. But if I'm playing.
Yeah.
And I want to go somewhere. I want to go somewhere else. Somebody's talking to me somewhere.
Yeah.
Whether
I'm with you.
Yeah, because I just don't see why I would leave.
I don't know. It's again, I'm a big advocate for community-based, education-based athletics. I like. It's one thing that I know Cheryl and I enjoy. We go to Ripley games a good bit. Ripley's, while there are transfers there, I mean, students have transferred in and out there. Mm-hmm. It's not as as prevalent as it is here, where we have in the valley, where we have a lot of schools kind of clustered together. It's not as convenient to do so, but it still happens. But it's nice, and again, the school's the center of the community, and that's from the elementary schools on up. It's the center of the community, and it's quite refreshing, and we enjoy it. We enjoy it a good bit.
Don't you think it's even more challenging because of how close the schools are in this area of, like, for me, if I were to leave South Charleston and go to GW, I mean, that's like, why? I don't even know, like, why I would even do that. And it's close, you know.
Yeah.
St. Albans, go to St. Albans. Like, why would I go up the road to St. Albans? Why would I just don't, I don't have a mindset for it.
I just always enjoyed playing with folks that I knew and grew
Me too.
up with. And even when I got to college, it was, you developed friends and enjoyed playing with those folks. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about your son, Zach. He's also got quite the athletic history. Tell us about his career in athletics.
Well, Zach is unique in that as a young coach, he coached at West Virginia State and at the University of Charleston. The young coach has spoken at the American Baseball Coaches Association clinic twice. That's quite impressive, and has a lot of contacts with major league teams in terms of folks. And he got, during the pandemic, pretty well known on Twitter for analyzing podcasts and so it's
hope he doesn't analyze ours. We're in trouble.
So it's he's
don't tell him you were on here, Bryce.
He knows, and Zach's 6'8", and the position he's probably most versed in is catcher in baseball, and
6'8".
Yeah, but he never caught a day in his life. But he's just, but in terms of knowing the fundamentals and all, so he's self-taught on a lot of things. But he's developed quite a national reputation.
Well,
runs in the family, right? All the honors.
And to that, this is I'm gonna make a tough question for you.
Oh gosh.
When you look back on all of the things that you have done, the number of players that you've touched, and I'm going to make this assumption because of how well I know you. I don't know any player that would have played for you who would not have loved you after they were done. I don't know, just because of who I see you and how I know you. I wonder if you actually have ever had the time to stop and think about the amount of young men, students, being a principal, that you have touched, and something that you said, something that you told them, has made a huge impact on their life. Do you realize how important that was for so many people?
I always tried to be the best example I could be to my students and players, and that's whether they played ball for me or whether they were a student in my class. I always wanted to be a teacher first, and I think every good coach, every really good coach, is a good teacher, because you have to, in my classroom in the afternoon, just have to be on a field. I always took great pride in terms of teaching. I wanted to have academic rigor in my classroom, and have expectations for my students, and they wanted to teach them something that might help them somewhere up the road. Again, not every circumstance is in a book, but you want to try to get them in, what I always call horseshoes and hand grenades, close to, if a circumstance did present itself in their life, that they had the skills that could meet that moment. This is an option. Now, sometimes you don't always make the right choice, but you learn from that, and then try to do better the next time.
And I would say that there's another gentleman who feels the exact same way as I do when it comes to you, and that's Damon Booker. And I know I
love Damon Booker.
And I know that was a lot of work. He knows that it was a lot of work. But I think if you ask him who was the guy, he would say you.
That's quite humbling. I always strove to be the best influence I could be on anybody that was in my sphere of influence.
I think, me personally, and I've had a ton of, I've been around a ton of individuals who have been in sports. I think you're probably one of the most humble individuals that should know, would never say, of the greatness that you have achieved and the amount of people that you have impacted over your lifetime as a coach, as an administrator, in any area. It's just amazing to me that you have been able to, from generation to generation, you say kids change, the generations change. You have been able to adjust yourself to meet those people where they are and to get them where they need to be.
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much. That means more to me than I can even capture in words. I always had a philosophy, and this is something I read sometime. There's no limit to what a person can accomplish as long as they don't care who gets the credit. And I think that's something that always was influential in my life. And people will notice if things go well. I always wanted my students to get the credit. They're the ones, as I mentioned earlier on a couple of players, they're the ones that did the work. I just tried to guide them the right direction. Now, I always believe, too, there's an art to get them to do what you want them to do, but make them think it's their idea, too. So there's that aspect.
Especially that age group.
and kind of lead them the correct way. But it's been rewarding. I know Cheryl and I get a kick every now and then. You'll hear somebody and out today, and they'll holler coach, and then they'll come running up, and these folks are some now in their early 50s, and give a hug, and that's the reward right there. I always said may not remember much about our practices or our games or whether we won or lost sometimes, but they'll remember where they had a good experience playing for you or being in your classroom, and that's what always tried to guide me is to make sure that they would have a good experience, get taught some situations that would help them later in life. If we happen to win a few games along the way, so much the better. It's a lot more fun when you win. But it was I always tried to keep in mind education. If you ask me what I did, I was a teacher. I was a teacher. That's what I did.
And I like that a lot. As a retired teacher myself, I admire that so much.
Well, we got a few more minutes. Lisa, you have anything?
I'm going to just touch back on all of his, Hall of Fame inductions. I mean,
yes. Make a list.
I've got a list.
Yes, I got a list.
Like
too.
I said, it was like Bryce Casto afternoon at my house on my computer. So you are a member of the West Virginia Sports Legends Hall of Fame,
yes.
Inducted in 2019. You are also a part of the Mid-Ohio Valley Sports HOF, West Virginia State University Sports HOF, and the Ripley High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
The football and the baseball.
Football and baseball.
Oh, got to make
There's
sure
two separate ones.
Yeah. So kind of to wrap up the whole show, and thanks for being on with us tonight.
Thank you.
It's been great to have you. Awesome. How did these inductions make you feel about yourself, like others honoring your body of work throughout the years?
Or when you hear them all being read out.
Yeah.
Making one Hall of Fame is really a good thing. I mean, you could be happy as ever. You have a list of Hall of Fame.
Good point.
So
it's humbling. I've always tell folks I've been around good folks and good situations my entire life, and I was always willing to put in work, and that helped. But I always did the best I could do, and got those values from my mom and dad, who had expectations of me academically, and if I wanted to play sports, if you're going to do it the right way, and give all that you have, and then when you finish, there's no regrets. That's the thing that I can sit here and tell you that from my playing career to my educational career to teaching, coaching, administratively, I have no regrets. I would do it all again in a heartbeat.
And the amazing thing is that you were successful at all of them.
Oh, thank you.
And that, I mean, could you have struggled a little bit somewhere?
Yeah,
You're making Carl look bad over here. That's all it is.
His accomplishments, are much more than mine. But he's, and that's always one thing that I admire about Carl is he's always humble. He's always focused on others and doing, what he does for the youth in the community at South Charleston is just amazing, and folks just love him there, and we love you too. We love you too.
Well, speak for yourself.
Well, she's getting fired after this show anyway. So. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed the show, and Mr. Casto, we surely appreciate you
Thank
being
you
here.
so much.
And we're out of here, and we will be back again
Let's
next
Talk
week.
with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker. Comment on episodes, ask the crew questions, or suggest topics on our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee, and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation. Subscribe by searching Let's Talk with Carl Lee on your favorite podcast service, and tune in Thursday evenings at 7 or Sunday nights at 8 for Let's Talk with Carl Lee.
If you fall, dust it off and get back up on your feet.